All right, I'm gonna kind of throw this out there. I know I might change it up a little bit, but we have a lot of new members in the Discord, and they're like fairly new. Just for the new investors, if you could just throw out some pointers out there, what to look for, what to expect, or just something you could throw out there, just basically for the new members, because we have a ton of them, and something that might just help them out in the future.
Whatever you read on Twitter, don't take it to heart. Okay, just focus.
That's a great place to start. Like if you can
Beautiful.
That's a
start it
really good
anywhere,
point.
Yeah. So I'll
you're
say this.
basically
I'll say this. I'm gonna expand on that a little bit, but I do want to kind of give a point and tip, right? Um, in this community, there's a lot of money on the line, right? There's a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of bad will. People say shills or trolls, whatever you want to call them. But I would say there's a lot of money on the line from people on an individual basis. Some people are over leveraged. Some people have just enough. Some people have, a little bit in the middle. What I would say is some people do have lots of their emotions attached to their accounts. So when you say things that might affect a play that they're in or their money, they do have an emotional response. They don't always mean poorly, but sometimes it just comes out, right? So what I would say is if you're on social media, follow people that add to your energy, follow people that multiply to your energy. Feel free to unfollow or not respond back to people that divide or subtract from that energy, right? Because at the end of the day, mental health is key, and that is equivalent to your bank account. Okay, so this is a financial play. Do not allow it to be a mentally damaging play. Like create those boundaries, figure out what that line is, and then from there, focus on the finance aspect of it. Oh yeah, you guys are up now.
It was just so beautiful. Like I just wanted to bask.
I think it's a lot. There's a lot that goes on in the community that like it shadows from like. There's a lot of people that have a lot of great information out there. True Demon, definitely one of them, right? But it's just like there's so much fluff. I'll say fluff to put it politely. That's out there. It distracts from the facts, the questions. Like I posted a question asking Ortex the other day, and there's a lot of shit that came through my DMs in regards to a question. But I was just like, this is between me and Ortex. I just had a question. I want to ask a question, and if I'm wrong, then you guys can all see records of a conversation. You guys can see where things go from there. But if you guys are going to take it anywhere outside this question, you guys got it all wrong. This is supposed to be a learning experience. This is supposed to be, public information that everyone can kind of access to. It's not about, who said what and how they said it. No, let's get down to the facts. Let's get down to the numbers. So anything that gets beyond that is pretty much a waste of time.
I'm not going to expand on TMI's thought. I think he put that pretty well. But I do have one thing that I've learned myself and I've seen in other people. It doesn't matter how much you know. It does not matter how educated you are. It does not matter if you're the smartest guy in the room, the dumbest guy in the room, if you don't have consistency and you don't have a plan. And what I mean by that is I've seen people who are really good paper traders who are terrible real traders. And what it comes down to is mastering human emotion. Fear and greed runs the entire stock market. Everything is run by those two basic human emotions. And your goal in order to make money in the stock market is to conquer those two emotions. Before technical analysis, before understanding data, before analyzing entries and exits, before all that stuff, you have to have the mindset. You have to have a strategy. And that is ultimately where I think most people fail. Here's a statistic I'd be interested to see what the numbers would be on it. But there are almost always opportunities to exit a trade green. But a lot of people don't. What does that come down to? Sometimes it's not knowing when to get out, but sometimes it's also the plan. Did I have a good exit plan? Did I have a good entry plan? Are you sticking to that plan? Out of 100 trades, are you sticking to it 100 times? If I was to give any advice for a new investor or trader, it's just recognize and find what kind of trader or investor you want to be, and then formulate a plan so that you can actually execute. If you're just going blind, you're gonna lose. I've done it. I've tried it. You can't do it that way. You have to have a plan. So master those emotions, man. That's the hardest part of the stock market. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I actually want to elaborate on that a little bit because I think this is, for me as somebody that helps moderate Hell's Trading Floor, I see a lot of users that have questions about trading plans. And I started this whole thing watching Matt. And one thing he drives deep into the conversation is having a trading plan. So my question is for Matt, how did you figure out what was the best way to go about figuring out a trading plan for yourself? in the process of when you started trading? And what does that look like in like very, basic terms for a trader?
I guess for me, I always took it. Well, when I first started, it was a complete shit show. Like I was more in the realm of like I didn't have much money, and like that is very attractive to get like cheaper stocks, and you're like hoping for a huge percentage return. And I guess I felt like I always chasing in terms of not only the price action but also in the news cycle. Like it was always like, oh, this one's already up. Like I wonder if it'll go up more. And like if you do that enough, you're gonna like definitely blow up your account in a negative way. So I ended up just through like what I was interested in school being a lot more like just specific, black and white, like quantitative. So for me, it was more of like when I got that exact plan. So for anyone listening, you could look at it like, I don't know, you could try anything. Like how good are you at buying stocks when the 30-minute RSI is below 30 and you're just betting on a reversion play? Okay, well, you have that. Well, now what if you put in, let's say, call it another filter? Like let's say that you see bullish divergence also in the RSI, or you saw that the MACD is crossing over. Like you just need something that you could truly track. Like how are you defining your entries? How are you defining your exits? Because of if you don't have that, well, now you're just going with gut feeling. You're like, well, I think this might work. I think, but like if you're not tracking it, well, how do you know then? So I would be just like as perfectly methodical as you could. And I guess I do appreciate, I guess the irony in this, because like all of this community with AMC and GME, well, for me personally, like every trading rule I've ever had for these two plays have been so far like yeeted out the window that it's like kind of ironic. Like it has like AMC and GME, I think of as like completely different than any other play I'm possibly in. AMC and GME, I have the money and bet on the line that I'm willing to let go to zero. But beyond that, I'm not really applying my typical trading method like ideology and methodology at all. But for anyone listening, especially if you've been doing this for a bit and you're seeing that your P&L is still in the red, the first thing to know to identify your own weaknesses within your trading is, well, you need your own data set. You have to know where you have successful trades. You have to know where you have poor trades, and just collect it. Start an Excel sheet, your entry, your exit, your reasoning, your risk, your reward. Where did it go awry? And the ones that you are seeing a red pattern in, well, stop those and double down on the green style.
I guess I also like, again, because I was such a turbo fan of Matt and M. You often talked about in the beginning, like you had a spreadsheet where you track stuff. Do you still do that? Or like, what did that look like when you were starting out as a trader?
Yeah, so I track it. Definitely. I have like a lot of journals that are filled with dates, that type of thing. I like to just write it down and then I like at the end of the day put it into my Excel sheets. But another thing I actually had to do was just certain rules I have on little stickies and I put it on my computer. So for example, like don't trade in the first 15 minutes. For whatever reason, I am not good at entering a position in the first 15 minutes. I always get whipsawed. So that's just one of my personal rules. And it's in front of my face, literally on a sticky note on my computer.
Okay. What about Trey? Like, do you have similar rules that you have found work for yourself and you have formulated over the years of, losing on trades? Or how did you figure out what is your best trading style for yourself?
Let me make the clarification right off the bat. I'm not an expert. I've been trading for less than 2 years. I started in October of 2020. I've just found what works, thankfully. But I look at every trade as a statistic. I'm not as well organized as Matt in terms of spreadsheets and that sort of stuff. But I look at it as if I'm going to take 100 trades, how likely am I to win out of every single one of those 100 trades? I've found that myself personally, depending on the week, depending on how volatile the market is, I can hit between 80 to 85 of those trades pretty successfully. So if I enter into a red trade, I get into it, I think it's going to turn green, and it goes red, 5%, 6%, 7%. What I found to be the most effective strategy for me is cutting them without thinking twice. And a lot of the times, those actually end up reversing. They could very easily reverse, go up 20, 30, 40%, but I don't care. I don't care at all, because that red trade to me is just one of the 20 out of the 100 trades that are going to be red. The other 80 are going to be green. So why would I stay in the red trade when I can get on to the next one using the strategy that I know works for me? So for me, it's just a matter of like when the losers are there, when it's 5% red, I cut it. And when it's green, I let it rip until there's even a slight chance of a reversal and I'm done, and that's not sexy. It's really boring. I mean, honestly, my trades are like 10, 15, 20% sometimes, but you stack them and it makes good money, So that's how I look at it. I just look at it as like out of 100 trades, how many of those are going to be green? All right, if it's going to be 80, I got to get out of those 20 red trades as fast as I possibly can. And that's it. That's all I do. It's very boring. I wish I had a better story for you, but me and TD have talked about it, and it's just not very sexy. So there's not much more to say.
He did want us to ask, if you don't mind. It says, how do you balance your trading day with desire to fight against the nefarious actors in the market and simultaneous desire to realize consistent gains? You all have made it clear that you are for a change, but I am curious to see how you balance the fight with the work it takes to be successful. As a follow-up, do you find more satisfaction as a successful trader or influencer or change?
Can I swing at this? Do you mind if I take the first first
No.
pitch?
Big nuts first. You go first. Hit it.
All right. You watch these massive nuts slap across the desk right now. You ready for this shit? You ready for this shit? No, I'm kidding. All right. So this is an easy one for me. The thing that makes me the happiest in life is knowing that I made an impact in other people's lives, right? I've been piss broke before. I've lived in the back of my car. I've eaten freaking Ritz crackers and ketchup packets from gas stations, struggling from summer to summer before. I've been there. And I'll tell you, being well off in the situation that I am I'm in now, I'm not any more happy than I was back then. I think it's all about how you handle circumstance and the people you surround yourself with. And what I would tell you, even though I was in a bad financial circumstance back in the day, is I had great friends. There was people that I was around that I love being around. I think that's it at the end of the day, right? Is who you sort of surround yourself with on a day-to-day basis. So when you ask me, like, how do I balance wanting to make money in the market with wanting to make change in the market, it's an easy answer. The answer is I make enough money to know that I'm comfortable, that I can get my daily burger, my weekend brews, and I can go travel and hang out with friends anytime I want without having to worry about money. I've got enough, right? I'm good there. Now that I have that, I want to go and get that lifestyle for other people. And I think that comes down to systematic problems which exist within the stock market. For example, lack of good data for retail. Maybe it's market makers that use Max Payne theory and they pin down options, so you kind of get screwed out of money, right? Maybe it's education. There's a lot of ways you can kind of pitch this, but at the end of the day, you're happy when you have a good circle of people around you that are happy. And if you're the only one in your circle having a good time, you're probably not actually having a good time. You're probably sucking some shit in your nostrils right now, So the way that I view it, man, is I want everyone around me to succeed just as much as I want to succeed, because that's true success. That's real happiness. If you're doing it by yourself, you're going to die alone. That shit sucks. You don't want to be that guy from Jujutsu Kaisen. If you know, you know. But that's my answer. So there you go.
Shit, you gotta follow that shit up. All right. So
He's like, shit.
I knew I should went first. I'll put it like this, right?
It's all good, man.
Yeah. All I can say is this. So first, to kind of respond to what Trey said, he practices what he preaches through and through. One of the most honest people that I've ever met before in my life, and I feel like he, as an influencer now, is basically what AMC was at the beginning of 2021. Like, you guys haven't seen shit yet. Just wait for it. It's gonna unfold. I think he's just getting started. Great trader, influencer, just getting started, right? So I think he has the whole happiness thing down packed. I truly and honestly do believe that along the way, you're gonna hit some home runs in different aspects of your life. And when you hit those home runs, you'll kind of be able to measure up what that feeling is, right? I feel like the question kind of is kind of like a two-sport athlete. Like, which sport do you kind of feel more comfortable in? I think at the end of the day, Trey says correct. If you're financially sound, if your family's okay, you'll find it a lot easier to find joy in bringing other people joy. When you're not financially sound, then it's tough. Right? Then it's very tough. So I feel like if you've been down before, so in 2008, my family lost everything. We're living in a hotel. So I've been broke before, right? And then it came to 2019, where I actually got my first place, right? Now, what I wanted to do when I lost everything was just get money. I didn't really care for happiness. What I want to do now is more so revolved around bringing other people happiness. So I think once you figure out what that comfort level is, then you can focus on happiness. Beforehand, you can still do it, but it's not quite as easy. Right? So I think now it's just happiness first. Everything else comes second. Um, if you're at the point where you have to question, where's your next meal come from, you're gonna have a tough time thinking about other people's joy and putting other people before you, right? So figure out what your line is, figure out what your goal is, get that shit accomplished, and then shift it to doing what makes you feel happy.
Remember, if you have big nuts, to slap them on the table. That's probably the
Always,
most important part of that whole.
I would say slap nuts first, ask questions later. And
That's a beautiful
I
close
forgot
to
it.
that
Is
sentiment.
this recorded?
Man. Oh yeah, it's recorded. We're live on YouTube, man.
Making sure. No, I want to make sure people can hear this after I'm done because I don't want to say
Okay,
it again.
yes,
Yeah.
it is recorded. I will give you the link, please. That's a beautiful close after like that. Oh man, you could have ran for Miss America, dude, like with that world peace statement. I feel like you balance me out because so I'll go ahead and answer the question too, even though nobody asked me. TMI, I love your sentiment, and I love how you are all about bringing people happiness, and I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It is an excellent goal to have. I may have spent too much time as a cynic, and probably spent too much time in the dark, being down here in the fourth circle, but I have different motivations entirely. I see what has happened to the world. Okay, I I I look at things in such a different light. And the stock market is not the only way, but I feel like the stock market is the most obvious way that evil plays itself out in the world and the way that evil conducts itself to earn profit. And that is my motivation for my trades. And I balance my trades out with risk to reward. I'm a very technical trader, and I just use charts and stuff. And if you want to learn about that, pick up a trading book because they're probably infinitely better sources than me. But when it comes to my motivation is that I was there when 2008 came crashing down on my family, and I watched my parents struggling with losing their home. And it was the same year that I just came back from basic training in the U.S. Army. And like the whole world was coming to an end financially speaking, and I didn't learn this until after I got back because they hid the reality of the world in my letters that I received while I was in basic. And when I got back, I came to understand that they spent basically their last cash just to come and pick me up from the fort that I was training at and spend a week in the Ozarks for a vacation. And then when we came home, like they didn't have anything left to spend, and they didn't know how they were going to stay in business because they had their own business. And my answer to that was, as soon as I got my first half of my GI Bill, was to pay their next 3 months on their mortgage and get them back out of delinquency because they were 90 days delinquent and facing eviction. And I had a little brother, and I wanted to keep him in his bedroom and not in a car. And that decision stuck with me because it stole it stole the future that I had imagined for myself. Going to college, and I later did go to college, but then my benefits got taken away in 2012, after sequestration of benefits is what the event was called. But it was basically like the government can't pay for everybody, so we're going to cut a bunch of senior officers out of the army because they're old, and we just want to pink slip them to save money, and we're going to take away a bunch of people's benefits that are going to school. And for me, that was devastating because it took me from a 3.9 GPA down to a 1.8, and it flunked me out of all of my courses instantaneously. It absolutely destroyed me academically. It destroyed me financially. And it was all because of what happened on Wall Street in 2008. And I'm the direct opposite of TMI. I mean, I love seeing people make money. I love seeing people be happy, but I do not want anybody on Wall Street to be happy. They are, as far as I'm concerned, the scum of the earth, most evil people. And my goal in life now, this is the most important thing that I feel like I can do with my life and my time, is to drag them down here to the fourth circle with me where they belong, because what they did to the world and what they continue to do to the world is absolute destruction and devastation, to the point where events like the shooting on Las Vegas and the fact that 3 days before it happened, millions of dollars in puts were taken out on all the casinos on the strip. And events like how United Airlines and American Airlines were shorted just 2 weeks before 9/11 occurred. And events like the 2008 crash was precipitated by Goldman Sachs, the largest broker dealer that had the largest amount of mortgage-backed securities that were deemed toxic and consolidated into CDOs that you heard about in The Big Short. They were the first to sell them all because they realized that they were worthless, and they dumped them into all of the 401ks and all of the IRAs that caused the market to crash and leave everybody penniless. That is my motivation. That's why
this.
I
I'll say
get
this.
so angry.
Love that, and I didn't know that, and that does shed a little more light on why your name is True Demon. I feel like it's.
I was
It
gonna
actually
say,
has
this
nothing
man's
to
a
do with
fucking
any of
Sith
that.
Lord. This man's a Sith Lord.
I like it. I like it, but I think you encapsulate a small part of me, right? Because what I'll say is this: watching. I think one of the most painful things as a younger person to do is watch your parents struggle, right? And you don't know it at the time, but looking back, it definitely was, right? I can see my parents came over from countries that they didn't have toilets when they lived in their countries, right? My dad grew up in the country in Jamaica, my mom grew up in Trinidad, right? So seeing them come to a place where they kind of gathered shit together, met each other in high school, made a life, got fucked over by the housing crisis, owned several properties, ended up having to shift to a hotel and start fresh again. Like the embarrassment, right? Now, knowing that, now, could they have definitely prevented some of these things from happening? Sure. The knowledge they might not have had, but knowing that ultimately a lot of this came down to things that were out of their control is tough. Now, the people responsible, do I have that, down to the core in me where I want to see them do poorly in life and have their kids, you don't say anything too crazy, right? But do I want to see them, suffer the same way that I saw my parents suffer? 110%. The only thing is this: I don't have a way of making that happen by putting that core part of myself. The way I can do it is, outputting the 90% or whatever it is of the upbringing, joy, and, cool, calm, collected attitude I can bring. But once the money is settled, I promise you guys, we will have some fun. True Demon and I will be out in Vegas talking the wildest shit you guys have ever seen before in your life. But until that time, relax. Chill. I'll let True Demon do the dirty work, and then we'll talk shit afterwards.
All right, I'll see you at DEF CON coming the first week of August. I'll be there.
Oh, I don't even know what DEF CON is, but I'm there.
Oh, it's a hacker conference. Man, I'm there every year.
They probably know who I am already.
All right.
Okay, cool.
First week of August. Every first week of August. Come out and join us. All right.
I think it takes a special person to have that sort of conviction be your reasoning and why you do something. I got to admit, between July and December, I fell down that hole, sort of the conviction mindset of I just want to watch these fucking people burn to the ground. And I just became jaded. And I think it's a really hard balancing act. And you seem to be doing it pretty well, so props to you. I'm not that special of a person. I couldn't balance in that sort of way. I have to take a different approach. So
well, I don't want you to glorify my mentality because I understand that it's cynical and toxic, but at the same time, there's a certain level of justice that doesn't come in the world without a certain degree of violence. And the way that and my philosophy is that if you're going to train to fight a war, you need to train to kill. And that's and I don't mean that literally. All right, don't take what I said just out of context and just be like, oh God, he's gonna go on a murder spree. No, not like that. But what I mean is that you have to have a certain degree of conviction. And when you're talking about upheaving a incumbent evil power that has basically infected the entire world and rules its economy, you're talking about something that is it will likely lead to some kind of violent uprising. It's going to be violent in different ways. Like it's going to result in things like there's going to be a lot of economic strife and a lot of confusion, and there's going to be problems that come out of the other side of it. There's no such thing as a peaceful revolution. It can't happen.
Where do the cactuses come into this? I see a lot of people talking about cactuses.
We're not going to talk about that, all right? You guys want context? You can go check out the last video on my channel. I'm not going to discuss it here. Y'all can check out my last video. If you get a kick out of it, it's highly educational even though it starts a little bit comical with a little bit of, well, we'll say suggestive material.
To be
Well,
honest with you, man, I think myself personally, I'm just too lighthearted to get into that mindset all the time. Like, I got to be straight. What I want in life to be completely happy after this is all said and done is enough money to get hammered on the weekends, have good burgers, and do it with my friends. And that's literally it. And a Subway a day, and a Subway sandwich a day. If I can do all those things with my buddies, life is good. And that's ultimately the goal, you know. Get people in your circle and in this community to all be in a spot where they can do whatever the fuck they want and live a good life.
I can agree with that, absolutely. No matter how we get there, if we can end up in that place where we're just having burgers and beers on the weekend, then I'll be happy with that.
Oh, dude, a good Coke Daniels, a good burger. Oh.
The only thing that I
Come
disagree
on.
with is, look, the happy times that Trey is highlighting is fictional, right? Because for his ultimate scenario, he's drinking Diet Coke. Now I don't know what kind of bullshit going off that Diet Coke scenario, but that's not real. That's not post Moass life. It's Coke. You know what I mean? It's the real deal Holyfield. We don't want that synthetic shit. So if we're gonna talk about ultimate scenarios, it has to be the real deal.
Bro, take your mask off and tell me that, huh? Take your mask off and tell me that.
You
Get
know,
my nuts out of the way first so I can move over here. Okay, cool.
But what I will say as parting words is whatever your why is in life, just have it, you know. And when you have hard days, you'll always come back to that, you know. For me, it's my old man. I think about him in his grave, chilling. And there was a quote that was shared with me. It's pretty interesting. It's the difference between quiet and silence. Those who are quiet are listening and waiting to speak. Those who are silent never speak. And I think about that a lot. I think we need a world of more quiet people and less silent people. And that's all I've got to say. I'll catch you all later.
I think people need to. I think we started off in this community as a misinformed, wet behind the ear retail investor community that was just hyped off of what could potentially be life-changing money, and we stumbled upon, several different positive aspects of retail that I think will, last generations from now. But at the end of the day, I think people still need to look internally and say, hey, look, what does make me happy? What are my limits? What wakes me up in the morning? What am I working for? Along the lines of your why, but just figuring out the nitty gritty, like, what's going to keep me sane for the next little while? What's going to pay my bills? Like, figure out what you need, because I see a lot of people doing a lot of things that would be great for the community, but I'm always thinking to myself, hey, like, make sure you take care of your own, right? So if watching the line isn't great for you, I know I stream all the time, right? But if that's not good for your mental health, don't do it. If jumping on social media is not good for your mental health, don't do it. If day trading is not good for your financial health, don't do it. Like, figure out what actually works for you, not what gets the most retweets or gets the most love or interaction or engagement. Like, figure out the core of what actually makes you a better person, happier, then start there. I think a lot of people kind of lost their way along the way because it was fun, right? But then we have to kind of bring things back and say, okay, cool, let's start again. Have I actually learned anything in the last 6 months? What have I learned? Where have I learned it from? Let's go back to those places. Let's get more information. Was it accurate? Let's double check. How do I do DD? When I wake up in the morning, what's the first thing I think about? Like, these different things we kind of just put in the back burner to get rich. Now I want to make sure that, yes, things are starting to turn back around to positive again, but let's not lose track of, the things that make us individually happy, because money doesn't change happiness. It makes it easier, but it doesn't, give us all solutions. So keep that in mind, people.
I share a lot of those sentiments. It's been a life-changing journey for us, no matter how much money we've made or lost, because it really opened our eyes to things that have happened in the past and have happened recently that really enlightened us to how impactful people can be and how impactful the internet can be, and sharing information, knowing that I can reach around the globe to hundreds, if not thousands, or even millions of people with information that has the potential to change their lives and change the outlook that they have on life and help them build something together. That's what I thought that I did once upon a time when I was building code, and it was what I thought I was doing when I was teaching people how to secure their computers. Now I am teaching people how to fish for themselves in order to find money and value where it resides, and to put an assignment on that value and determine what that means to them. And for me, the value in what we're doing isn't just in dollar signs. The value is in human life. And there is one thing that is missing from Wall Street is that when it replaces people with numbers, then their story and their impact and their lives are missed, and they often are forgotten. And that is why this corruption has to end. And that's why I feel like what we're doing here is so important. So, like all great things and all great revolutions, those things have to come with time and a lot of pain and a lot of work. But as I have said many times before, patience is key. TMI, thanks for sticking with me to the end since you're the last one hanging out here. And thank you to Peter Hilleberg from Ortex and Matt Kohrs and Trey's Trades. You guys have been fantastic. We really enjoyed having you on, and I'm hoping that we get to do it again soon. And with that, I look forward to seeing you guys next time, and have a hell of a time in the markets.